What's up, guys? Shea Bell, BB Sports here, and we're going to be taking a look at Corey Seager's hitting mechanics here. So before we jump into that video, if you can like, share, subscribe our YouTube channel, that'd be greatly appreciated, guys. So we're going to take a look at Corey Seager's mechanics here, what makes him such a great hitter here, and what gives him success at the highest levels, from his load to his stride to his rotation to how he hits a high pitch, a low pitch. Anything in everything in his swing, right? And these are all things in a lot of hitters' swings too. There's some unique things to his swings, but a lot of great hitters have the same checkpoints throughout their swing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into the video and show you what we see. So now we're going into Corey Seager's load here. So we're going to take a look at the first part of every good hitter's swing is a load. Okay, so I'm letting it play through here a couple times as we go, and then we're going to talk about some key things that I see in his load. Okay, so if we get to kind of the slowed down version here, and I want you to start by watching how his back leg does not move really too much. His knee, that shin angle really stays in place as he loads. You see so many young hitters that when they load, they really sway back here, and that knee will get to the outside part of the foot as they stride into it. Okay, it's very, very important to feel that load into a strong backside and a strong back leg. Okay, another big thing that I see with his swing here is as he does that, you can see his start height here as he goes from the hips there. He does a really good job of loading into a strong foundation. So he's using his hip muscles, he's using his glutes, everything in his legs now activated as he lowers down into that, okay? And then the other one kind of that I see, and it's kind of as we go into it, everything kind of counter rotates into that backside. So you can see, if you watch the back elbow and kind of the belt buckle here, we can see a crease along the front, the hip here, the back hip as we go. We can see his elbow work back behind him as he's turning into it. So he's not only loading down into the leg, but he's also coiling into that back leg there as he goes, okay? So counter rotating into the back side there as we go. So those are all the things that I see in his load here that make him such an elite hitter and set him up for success as he goes into the next part of our swing, which is going to be our stride and our stretch. So we're going to take a look at that. So now we're looking at the load, right? And so I'm just going to let it kind of play through, play a front angle, and then also play a chest side angle here as we go. Okay, and so what we're going to look at here in the load, and really in the stride, I mean, is what we're going to look at is how the front foot, the front leg really stretches from this back elbow and the hands there as we go. Okay, so if we go to this angle here, it's a great angle to really show kind of how the leg stretches forward and the back torso kind of coils back behind here as he goes. So if you watch the elbow and the torso here, and really the knob as well, you can see as he's loading there, you can see that knob really like swinging back towards the catcher there as he goes. Okay, so we're stretching that and loading that back there as that foot is striding forward, right? So now at that position, he's ready to fire. So if he's late, he can swing from there, right? If he's early, which kind of looks like he was on this swing, where he kind of put the brakes on just a little bit. He didn't rotate quite as early there, and now, boom, he would rotate and go, okay? So during the stride and the stretch of the swing here, we have to really feel that front leg here. So front leg stretching as the back hands and everything stretch back. Okay, so if I put a little marker on it here, we got kind of the hands right there, we got the foot kind of right there-ish, right? So, and then as I go here, you can see just how much that handle stretches and goes back, and how much that leg really starts to stretch forward as he goes, okay? So we got to create that stretch as we do that. Now, the last thing I'm going to note during the stretch of the swing, the stride of the swing here, is how his back knee stays back and steady, right? So it's going to go forward, but it's not going to cave in, okay? So it's not going to rotate yet. So you can see it's staying kind of externally rotated back there. It just means kind of the kneecap pointing at the catcher a little bit until we're fully stretched, and now we're ready to rotate, okay? So we're not only stretching the front leg from the hands and whatnot, we're also stretching the front leg from the back leg and the back knee there as we stride and stretch, okay? So we're going to move on to the next thing here, and we're just going to go to kind of one of the most important parts of the swing, and the fuel of the engine, the engine to the swing, right? And we're going to look at hip rotation here as we go, and separation. Now we're getting to separation here, okay? So the hip rotation, the kinetic chain, whatever you want to call it, right? And I want to touch on kind of our launch position here first. So if you look at a launch position from pretty much every single pro hitter, it's going to look something like this. So back elbows kind of loaded up and back, knobs pointed towards the catcher here as we go. Good, strong, counter rotated upper half there. So like torso pointed towards the catcher as well. They're going to have their back leg externally rotated there as we go, meaning just back leg pointed at the catcher roughly. Okay, they're going to be leading with their rough heel. So they get to that heel roughly coming to getting on the ground there with their front leg or hips still counter rotated as well. So this is our launch position that from the previous part of the video that we talked about the stretch that we're trying to work to as we go, right? So now if we get to showing Seager's hip movement and what he does to really fuel the rotation of the swing here, I'm going to let it play through, and then we'll talk about it a little more in depth here. But really the engine to the swing are the hips, right? That's where all the power is when we go and hit. So if we take a look here and go super slow-mo, you can see right here as his foot's about to hit the ground, okay? He'll then slam and rotate that heel onto the ground, okay? You can then see the front knee really open and externally rotate towards the pitcher. This front hip and butt there go down and back as he rotates, okay? So we can see that, boom, look at the stripe on his leg there. So really rotating down and back there as he goes. He, at this point, has rotated that heel onto the ground, okay? Now, look, knees starting to point towards the pitcher more, okay? Butt's completely open, belt buckles towards the pitcher there as we go, okay? What you want to look at, too, with this is how this starts to open, so that front hip starts to open, and look at his chest right now. It's still closed. Look at his back or his lead arm there as he goes. It's still back as he goes into it, okay? So we're creating separation here. The hips are what are fueling the swing as we go and swing through this and generate our power, generate our rotation throughout the swing, okay? So hips are rotating, generating that power, and it's happening first in the swing. Now, also look at how far his barrel stays back, right? So how long the barrel stays back. So you can see the knob's still pointing forward here. Belt buckles are all the way pointed forward. Chest is pretty pointed forward, more at the ball a little bit. And the barrel is still back behind his body there as he goes. Okay, so that really shows you that the hands aren't really throwing here. The hips are what are driving the swing and fueling the swing here as we go into it. Okay, so his hip rotation is awesome. His separation's awesome there as he goes into it. He's rotating down into the ground as he goes into it, so he's controlling it as well, maintaining that ground contact, right? So that's the hip rotation part of the swing there. So important, guys. If you look at this part on every MLB hitter, they'll be doing the same exact thing as they go through their swing. may not be identical. Some may not get at the same amount of separation as others, but they're fueling their swing from their hips, and I promise you at this point in the swing, it's going to look somewhat like this as they get to contact, pending, obviously, ball location and stuff like that, but it's going to look like this as they approach contact. Now we're going to talk about what I think Corey Seager does better than pretty much every hitter in the major leagues, right? So he's an elite hitter for a reason, and I think it's how he hits low pitches, how he hits off-speed pitches, okay? So he does something that a lot of young hitters struggle with. A lot of really major league hitters struggle with it sometimes too. And what I want you guys to look at here in his swing is, and what it looks like is almost after contact as he does it, but it really begins starting before contact as he goes, okay? So if we look at this swing here from the side angle, we can see kind of where his belt's at initially here as we go into it. So belt's right around that height there, okay? So now as we go and get to the finish height there, you can see now the belt is at that height, okay? So that is something that is so incredibly difficult to do, and is so important for hitting low pitches, right? So if we try to go and hit this pitch with our lower half, so if I go to the other view for you guys here too, so this ball is breaking down and away from me. Okay, if I try to throw my hands at it, odds are I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to either chop that thing straight into the ground, or I'm going to spin that ball straight up in the air because I'm too steep and I'm going to hit the bottom half of the ball as I go, okay? And even if I do hit it somewhat square, I'm not going to be hitting it with a lot of juice behind it, okay? So you can really see Seager here as he's going into his stride, as he's going into his rotation here. He starts dropping and sitting into this pitch here as he goes, okay? You can see him drop, boom, boom, okay? And he's controlling that the whole time. You can also see his posture stays over the plate, all that good stuff. But that hip drop is essential to being able to hit pitches when we're, one, out in front on, two, when it's kind of below our bat line there, right? So we're trying to hit the top pitch here as we go. Initially when we hit, you can't sit a low curveball and adjust to a 98-mile-an-hour fastball, right? So you have to be able to sit there and be thinking at this point in our swing, we're thinking hunting fastball, right? But as it's coming in at us, we're now able to make that initial adjustment with the lower half to sit into it and go down and get this pitch. And that's something Corey Seager does so incredibly well here. And it allows him to get behind that baseball there and to drive this baseball, okay? If he throws his hands again where he's probably chopping that into the ground, hitting the top half, or if he throws his hands and drops his hands so much, he might hit the bottom third of the baseball and spin that thing up in the air, okay? So this is something Seager does so elite, and it keeps him in the running for best hitter in the league pretty much every year he's in the league, right? So I'd put him in a top 10 position every time over the past like 5 to 10 years, right? So something he does insanely well, and that's kind of unique to his swing is that finish position right there, okay? The position where his knee's almost on the ground there, and he's able to get down to that low off-speed pitch as he goes, but he's still also able to hit, say, a high fastball as well. So he's still able to hit that pitch there because he's sitting that pitch while he can make the adjustment with his lower half to this pitch here and drop into his legs a lot more. All right, so that brings us to the end of our video here. So as I finish up and wrap up with some comments here, I'm just going to let you guys watch some slow motion videos of Corey Seager's swing. So enjoy that as I kind of wrap up. But elite hitters, they all have, 5 things that they do in the swing, right? So they have checkpoints in the swing as they go through it. And if you look at the best hitters in the MLB, they're all roughly the same with those checkpoints. Okay, so that's what my hope with doing these videos is, just kind of give you an idea of where the best hitters in the world are at when they're hitting, and what checkpoints we want to try to get to as we hit. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and hopefully we see you for the next one, guys.